Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Coop3r Studios for the 2023 studio tour. There's been a lot of big changes, some construction related, some gear wise, and I just wanted to take a little bit and show you some of the new things and the new ways that I do stuff here at the studio. For those with a short attention span, I'll do a quick B-roll style where I'll show you some stuff and talk about it, but if you want the full description and the long explanation, then stick around after the B-roll rundown, and we'll have some fun talking studio. So let's go back to the control room. All right, everyone, back in the Coop3r Studios control room here. You're not going to see a big change in the way things look. I've got the same acoustic geometry room treatment. I've got the same desks and lights and all that stuff I put in from the beginning, but the big change is on the main desk over here. You can see the upgrade to the Universal Audio 8 XPs as the new backbone to my studio. 16 unison preamps, which allow me to just pretty much record anything I need, but I can ADAT in more if I need it. They're super clear and transparent, and then you get that universal audio ecosystem of incredible plugins, mic modeling, console emulation. I can create and do whatever I want with this setup. Those converters hook up to the new Focal Twin 6 monitors. Absolutely blown away by them. I tried out a whole bunch of different monitors at GearFest, and Focal just really blew me away. These monitors have focus mode, so I can click a foot switch and instantly know what my mix sounds like on frequency limited speakers, which helps with mixes for iPhones and laptops and all that I do with this YouTube stuff. I paired it with the Sub 6, and man, does it sound good. I've also got a big upgrade in the hardware department for my computer setup. I'm now using a Mac Studio paired with the Apple Studio display and a whole bunch of Glyph hard drives, like 16 terabytes of solid state drive and 32 terabytes in the big Glyph backup drive that I have. Now onto the sound lock. So the biggest construction change you'll find in the studio is that I took out those gigantic pizza ovens that were guitar ISO boxes that I didn't use very often, and I made it into much more usable storage. So I've got my drums and hardware and all that stuff on display now, and it just makes the space a lot bigger and a lot easier to use. Over into the live room where all the fun happens. Not a lot has changed as far as the looks, just the gear inside. Got new drum sets, got that 50th anniversary limited edition Sapphire Blue Crystal Beat kit in the middle right now, Masters Maple Gum, and Reference Pure that I built the studio around over in the corners. I have built a new snare drum rack over here so I can keep more snares handy and show them off because snare drums are beautiful. And of course, in the mic locker where all the Earthworks mics are, David Raouf is always hiding. And that about sums it up. Outside of that, I've had a ton of amazing productions here, and every time I have a cool drummer here, I try to get him or her to sign the drum, and it's always so fun to walk up to it and just see the cool people that have been here and remember all the memories. And so now I'm going to pass you off to myself, and I will talk through everything in much greater detail if you want to stick around and check that out. Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to the updated Coop3r Studios studio tour. This has been a long time coming because I've been trying to get everything right and get everything clean and make sure it looks the way that it should look for a studio tour, which is not easy when I'm constantly changing setups and doing different productions and taking kits down and putting things here and throwing things there. Honestly, if you were to visit the studio on a regular day of the week and I wasn't like, hey, someone's coming, I gotta clean up, might not be the cleanest, most organized studio you've ever been into, but a lot of great content and a lot of really cool things happens here, and so it was time to finally update you guys. I know that a lot of people will post an updated studio tour almost every single year, new rig rundown, that kind of thing, and I do miniature versions of that by talking about the different gear I'm trying out and using in all these different videos. But for me, this is the first time in almost 5 years since the studio opened that I'm doing another studio tour that really kind of showcases the different spaces and some of the changes. And there's been some construction style changes, and I've built some different things and changed some things around, but at the end of the day, the biggest difference here is the gear difference, which is why we're in the control room first, because this is where the most exciting changes have happened from a gear perspective. I've got new drum sets, and those are exciting, but what I'm about to show you guys and talk about is really the bones of the biggest changes that have happened at Coop3r Studios. And for me, it's me leveling up my gear and kind of figuring out who I am as a recording engineer, who I am as a production manager and director, and what it is that I need and what it is that I want to use. And I hope that this video helps you maybe pick out some gear for yourself or make some decisions differently than how I approach decisions, so that you can figure it out and make the best choices for your studio. So let's dive into gear. Let's dive into the changes here, because if you look around the room itself is basically the same acoustic geometry, acoustic treatment on the wall, same couch, same fridge and desk behind me. Like, all that stuff is the same. It was the same vision that I had when I wanted to build this studio, so none of that has really changed, but it is the gear that has made a big change. And I'm sure you can see behind me some of the big changes already with those beautiful Focal monitors. And so really, like, the base of the huge changes for the studio have been upgraded monitoring and upgraded preamps and just recording opportunities. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the gear. All right, so a little backstory. When I originally built the studio, I designed everything around Dante, which is audio over Ethernet protocol. Basically, like, it's kind of like an audio internet, and Dante is really cool. You can do a lot of things with it, but you have to be doing certain projects and needing certain situations for that to really come into play. And so when I designed the studio, I was thinking like interconnectivity between rooms and everything over Dante. And so I used RedNet, and I had all these different like situations and opportunities, and all that was great. But because of that, I kind of like lacked in some of the post-production ways that I could have benefited, because I chose different gear than what I have now. And so at the end of the day, like, the big change for me as far as preamps go is I switched from Focusrite to Universal Audio. Now, I'm not here to say there's anything wrong with Focusrite. They make great gear. Love everybody over there. Lots of great stuff. But I am excited, and I am really pumped about using Universal Audio, the Apollo 8 XPs. I have 2 of those, which is now like the backbone of my rig. And it's not because Focusrite was bad or anything of that nature. Like, if you are interested in their gear, like, I recommend it. It's good stuff. But for me, realizing the potential of where I wanted to go and what I want to do and how I want to record, the Apollo and the Universal Audio plugins and just their overall ecosystem is just so much more powerful from a production standpoint when it comes to the kind of productions that I've really been doing. And that is, tracking drums and tracking like bands and music and things of that nature, but not necessarily productions where I need Dante, not necessarily productions where I have to have, this more complex network that holds everything together. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm kind of recording a little more rock and roll here, where it's just like plug a microphone into a preamp and then get an awesome drum sound because of the amazing preamps and the amazing microphones I use, like Earthworks Audio. That's still the staple of my studio. But together with the Universal Audio Apollo preamps, I can get just a really clear, incredible sound right up front. So a lot of times, like, my productions I don't even use the post-production like plugins and setups that you could be using with the Universal Audio ecosystem. But that just goes to show you how clear, how transparent, how great those preamps actually are. But for me, like, I want to be able to have that when I need that. And I had, Universal Audio, it's not like I'm, introducing you to something new. So it's not like me, like as a drummer, as a recording engineer, like, had never had experience with them or heard great things about them before. But I had never had them in my studio. I had never gotten to really play with them in the same way that I did when I went to GearFest a couple years ago. And so I worked with the guys at the Universal Audio team, and I got to take those preamps into Sweetwater Studio A and try out the console modeling. And I had some of my best drummer friends there, and just like that was when I started to like really open my eyes to like all of the potential that I was missing out on from that Universal Audio ecosystem by not having Universal Audio interfaces and preamps. And so man, I went like I tried it out and I went like full scale, like, hey guys, like let's switch, let's transition over, because this is going to be the new backbone to the studio. It's going to do everything I need it to do. I'm still going to have the connectivity I need between the rooms. I have 16 preamps that are the from the Apollo 8 XPs that I have, and then I also, of course, can ADAT in additional preamps if I need more than that, which when I built this studio, I was thinking, like, I need like 24, 32, like I need just so many, and there have been some productions where I have needed that many, but for the most part, most of the stuff I produce, I need 16 or less, and so I have 16 incredible preamps from the X8Ps, and that's super exciting. And so past that, and not to like skip over it because we'll talk a little bit more about it, but also the other side of that equation is throughout the years, the first few years of the studio, monitoring was the one section that I kind of like skimped on. And I hate to say that because that sounds really dumb. It's like you have all these high-end preamps, these high-end microphones, these high-end drum sets. Why do you not have great monitors? And I've always kind of gone to a certain extent with the like, I like to use more affordable gear standpoint. And that's hard when it comes to recording stuff because really, like, yes, you can get great sounds with entry-level gear, but when it comes to monitoring, that's not a thing. Like, if your monitors are not really showcasing and telling you everything about your mix, then you are missing out on the opportunity to perfect and better your craft. And so if I could go back in time, I probably would have had 8 or 16 less preamps and would have had some better monitors from the very beginning. But now I don't have to worry about that anymore because I have upgraded to the Focal Twin 6. These beautiful, massive beasts behind me. I have a pair of those now, and they are just, it's miles and miles ahead of anything that I had used in the past. And that's another cool thing about GearFest is that, like, not only did I try out these Universal Audio preamps when I was thinking about making changes to the studio, but I also got the opportunity to check out different monitors from so many different companies. Everybody had things on display, and there were lots of great options. Like, if you chose something different or you feel differently, like, I'm not sitting here telling you you're wrong by any means. Like, there are great monitors from so many companies, but I went to Focal's booth because I've always had an eye on their design, and not that should have anything to do with what monitors you pick, but like, when you spend so much money on your studio, you want it to look good. The design of the monitors, the way that they look, should also be a factor. And so there were multiple Focal monitors that I had looked at before that just caught my eye surfing through the massive amounts of monitors. And so I booked a session to get to listen and experience the monitors firsthand. And we started on the Alphas, which are the entry-level Focal monitors. And I was like, whoa, like, these are better than anything I've been using, and they're not that much more expensive than what I've been using. What have I been missing? And I was like, surely, you know, it'll get better from here, but it's not going to like get that much better. And then we switched to the Shapes, and I was like, holy cow, like, these are the ones that I'd been kind of thinking about because of mostly because of how they looked, but also the reviews and stuff on them. Like, I had like these, I feel like this will be a good option. And then man, Josh from Focal, he switched to the beryllium level, which is the Twin 6s, or they've got the three-way version, and they've got the two-way version. Like, this is just like their top of the line monitor. And I swear, I was listening to John Mayer, and I'm very familiar with John Mayer's music. I felt like John Mayer was like whispering in my ear. Like, I had never felt like I had experienced the way that it sounded in the recording room. I mean, I felt like I, for the first time in my life, was actually experiencing the tracks, the mix, the way that the original engineers had created it. And of course, I'm sure there's very slight differences because they may or may not have been on, you know, beryllium Focals. But for me, it was a game changer. And at that point, I was like, this is gonna have to be the new Coop3r Studios monitoring setup. Another awesome thing about the Focal Twin 6 monitors is they have focus mode. And so previously in my studio, I had this super complicated setup with multiple different monitors, and I used like Aventone mix cubes, which are supposed to make it sound like frequency limited iPhone or laptop speakers. And then like sometimes I'd bounce it and I'd take it to go listen to it in different situations, or bounce it to my phone just to try and match it and make sure that it sounds good, because a lot of what I produce ends up being listened to on a phone because of YouTube and things of that nature. And so the focus mode on the Focal Twin 6 monitors is a game changer, because I have a little foot switch attached to it. All I do is step on the foot switch and the actual speakers themselves switch into focus mode, which then acts like a frequency limited speaker. It eliminates the need for any additional speakers, monitors within my recording setup. So everything is just like connected easier, it functions easier. The foot switch is just absolutely incredible, so I keep my monitors the same volumes. I don't have to try and trim everything to get it perfect, so it's not that there's a difference in dB and a difference in frequency. Also, it's just the frequency changes because of the way that the speakers themselves are operating in order to give you that, here's what it sounds like on not so great speakers sound. And it's funny to have speakers that sound this good and then them like show you like, hey, listen to how your mix sounds on this not so great speaker, and you're like, dang it, like I had it sounded so good on the great speakers, and back to the drawing board, I got some work to do. And it's been really, really awesome to be able to switch into that focus mode with just the push of a pedal and immediately like have the understanding of what it's going to sound like in the real world on a lot of people's devices and other speaker setups. And so it's changed the way that I can mix and streamlined the entire operation as well, which time is money, and time is something that I always want more of with all the productions and editing and things that I do. And so that saves me big time too. So I got the Twin 6s now, and then underneath me, behind me, I upgraded my subwoofer to the Sub 6. The Sub 6 is like everything, very powerful, very tight. It like, the first thing I told my engineer that I work with a lot, Grayson, I was like, bro, this Sub 6, it's no longer like bass is bass. It's like bass became a whole musical instrument. And like, I know bass is a musical instrument, and I'm sorry to any bass guitar player who may have taken that wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Like the sub level of sounds that were coming out of my previous setup were very like, oh, that's the sub, that's cool, like you got some low end, like I can hear the low end on the kick drum, and all of a sudden like I could hear exactly what my kick drum sounded like, and I was blown away. And part of that is also the converters on the Apollos, and so that's the big huge change at Coop3r Studios now, is switching from everything that I've been using and all the things that I've been trying, and switching over to Universal Audio Apollo X8Ps with the Focal monitors. And it's just like that's night and day for me. The level of capability, the level of sound, the level of quality that I am now getting that I didn't have before, and just everything that I can do. Like I could spend the rest of my next 5 years like messing with plugins and the Universal Audio ecosystem, and I will 100% still not even have delved into all of it. And that's one of the things that I also care a lot about, is I have other engineers come here, and I want to be a place where those engineers come in and they feel comfortable that they can do and achieve whatever it is they want. Same with any artist that comes in. Like I don't ever want to be able to have to say like, no, I'm sorry, like don't have that set of plugins, like I can't do that kind of thing. Like with the Universal Audio ecosystem and the Focal monitoring, I never feel like a client or an artist coming in, or a drummer that I'm performing with or creating videos with, I never feel like I'm ever going to let them down. And that right there is really, really awesome. So that's the big gear change for the control room. Outside of that, new microphones and things that I've been messing around with. This Earthworks Audio Ethos is now my new favorite microphone. And the whole Icon Pro Ethos series of microphones, just really, really phenomenal for this right here, but also the Ethos. If you haven't seen it, I have a Hey Jude video where I use the Ethos on every single instrument. Even drums was just one Ethos over the shoulder aimed at the kick drum, and we produced that track with Grayson at Starscream Studio, who is an even better engineer than me. So that's why I work with him a lot, because I'm like, hey, I'm pretty decent, but like Grayson is the man. And so This microphone absolutely blew me away, and you can hear it right now, ethos through the Apollo, and my voice just sounds phenomenal, and it's just me sitting here talking in the space, like just raw, just straight out of the microphone, straight through the preamps. Like, that's a good feeling. Outside of that, nothing really else has changed in the control room. I'll take you through some of the other spaces and show you some of the cool things that are going on in other areas of the studio. But for me, like, this is the most exciting part. This is where, like, big things have changed, big things are happening, and really the capabilities have just exploded for what I can do with the gear that I have and the monitoring that I have. Now I can make sure I hear everything. I know exactly when my kick drum does not sound the way I want it to, instead of finding out later on when someone tells me, like, why does your kick sound like that? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I thought it sounded good on my monitors. Like, now I know exactly how it sounds. I can get that exact sound that I'm looking for without ever having to, like, go into post-production. Like, I get it on the front end, and that's what's really awesome about this setup and having monitoring that's this good, is that it furthers my capability to get it right to start, and then after that, like, if I want to do all of the incredible things you can do in the Universal Audio ecosystem, I can, but I've already got incredible drum sounds from the amazing Pearl drums, and through these amazing microphones, through the awesome preamps, and through the monitoring that allows me to hear everything that I want to hear. So let's move on to the sound lock and then to the live room and check on what else has changed here at Coop3r Studios. All right, so now we are in the sound lock, which is a very important space for the studio because it adds an extra layer of doors and movement in between the live room and the control room, where I could be tracking in the live room and someone could go from the control room to the green room, or it adds that extra door of the control room, or the extra door between the live room here, just to reduce noise between the control room and the live room, as well as in between the live room, control room, and the green room. And so, very important room. Also, if you remember from the previous tour video and just from previous content, this room actually has changed a whole lot, because when I designed this space, it wasn't just the sound lock, it was also a guitar ISO booth. And so behind me, in fact, I would be standing in them right now, there used to be two huge pizza ovens, or at least that's what I called them and thought they looked like. But in all reality, I built two guitar ISO booths to where I could put guitar amps in there and track them, and the noise on the outside would be very minimal, so I could eliminate any bleed going into the live room or going into the control room for a guitarist playing a live amp. I still have the patching capabilities. I have the wall plates with the Ethernet and XLR connectors, so I can still send and receive signal in this room if I want to, but that was probably the biggest thing that I didn't do the way that I should have done when it came to building the studio, because I mostly track drums, sometimes I track a live band, sometimes I track guitarists, sometimes I do other projects like that, but most of the time these guitarists have been showing up with Kempers or, modeling amps and, using post-processing and things of that nature. And so recording live amps almost never happened here at the studio. And so what they normally were was storage. I would just put things in them to hide it, or, hey, I got a drum set in, but I don't have room for it. I'll just throw it in the guitar ISO booth. And so for me and for my studio and for the way that I utilize the space, it was thousands of dollars and days or weeks of labor building these incredible ISO booths that work so well, only to never use them. And the funny part about it, though, was not only was it a ton of time to put them in, it actually took me 3 days just to rip them out, because everything was glued and the doors themselves, the big one up top weighed 200 and something pounds because of the plywood, the 2x4s, the drywall, the interior treatments, and I mean, seriously, you should have seen me trying to get the door off. It was bad. I'm just glad I survived unscrewing that door and not, letting it topple on myself. But anyway, it was funny how long it took me to disassemble them. But at the end of the day, for me, it was what do I need here? I need storage. I need space for drums. That's what I do most of the time. And if I do have a guitarist come in, I can still hook them up, put them in here, and all the doors and stuff really minimize bleed anyway. So it wasn't really much of a lost capability for my studio to no longer have the gigantic guitar ISO boxes. And another side of that is like they used to come out to like right here. So now I have way more space for people to walk in and out, and I still have all this amazing storage space. Another big thing about this is, of course, what kits and what's going on in here. So this is a Roadshow Junior kit. I bought this for my son when he was 3. It's a really awesome like little beginner kit. But we changed up their rooms upstairs, and he just comes downstairs and plays on my drums, and so does my daughter. So this isn't set up right now. This next one is a cool kit. This is the like 1976 wood fiberglass kit from Pearl. Beautiful set of drums. I got it from my friends at Blue Goose Classic Percussion, which are now Atlanta Drum Shop. It was the first way we connected because I saw this kit and I'd been looking for a vintage kit, and I was like, that kit is beautiful and it's been restored so well. And then we built a friendship out of it, which was really cool. But this kit has a special place in my heart. Sounds really, really amazing. Down here, I've got another Masters Maple Gum kick drum. This is a 20-inch. And then this is my electronic setup for the Mimic Pro kit. So this is my second drum set ever, the Ruby Fade. I'm sure you've seen it in many videos if you've watched a lot of my old content. This kit has True Track heads from Pearl on it, so they mount onto an acoustic kit. They're a rubber and not a mesh, and so they feel different. I think they feel a little more natural, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think that stuff matters that much. I don't care whether I'm playing on mesh or I'm playing on rubber or whatever I'm playing on. Like, I like playing drums. So, but this kit hooks up to the Mimic Pro Brain, and then I have access to really amazing sounds. Also, this kit also holds a special place in my heart because of the fact that it was the kit that really like got me started on YouTube. It was the one that kind of like took me quite a while until I signed with Pearl Drums and got the export kit when I helped like launch the new export series kit. Man, if you want to go on a wild ride, go back and watch the export announcement videos on Pearl's channel with old me, some of my first like on camera talking about product experience. And man, that was a crazy time walking into a room that I knew that so many big name Pearl artists had sat in that same room and recorded videos, and here I am helping to relaunch the best-selling drum set of all time, the Export series, and then bringing it back to my studio and recording videos on it. So that was really special. And then of course on the other side here, I've got the Sapphire Blue Crystal Beat in the live room, but this is my original Crystal Beat kit, the one that I got when we launched the Crystal Beat again. I actually got to play this in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and create videos on it, and I got it before it came out. And so this kit's the only one in the world with the satin hardware on it, which is just another thing that makes it really special and really cool. Most of the time it's on display because it's not the kit that I necessarily need in most situations, but it does look really amazing with the drum lights in it. Rest in peace, Drumlight. Really sad that I had some good friends at Drumlight and they're no longer around. So now I'm like, I kind of want to put lights in the Sapphire Blue kit, but like I don't have my Drumlight buddies anymore. Anyway, so that kit's over there. I got hardware up here, drum heads up here, other storage down below. These are fiberglass concert toms, super vintage. I think also like 70s. They came with this blue kit, and once again, Blue Goose Classic Percussion restored them incredibly. I can't believe all the time he put into them, but they look so good. They're super cool. And then I got Evans Sensory Percussion right there. This right here is a mobile rig, and so most of the time it sits here and it's just like a useful table in this space now that I have more room. But at times I do strap some gear onto the rack and then put my laptop up here and I can roll it around. If you check out the video for the launch, the 2 million subscriber collab with all the drummers here, like I had this thing loaded up with rack gear and I just moved it into another room. And so having a cool rack on wheels with a table and all that built-in power, I built this thing and it's awesome. But it's just another cool way to walk in. I got snacks and candy from Sweetwater. I order so much from Sweetwater. I always have bags of Sweetwater candy that is just sitting right here. Our sweet way of saying thank you, and I kind of stole it. Now it's my sweet way of saying thank you. When you walk into my studio, you get a piece of candy or a snack or whatever. And then this sign right here, of course, still absolutely means the world to me, because these are the companies and the people that supported building the studio. And every day I look at this when I come down here and I see the picture of, man, all the guys, Adam and Stephen Taylor, Amanda Muse, Rich Redmond, Coop3r Studios, David Raouf, Juan Carlito Mendoza, Jared Falk, like all those dudes that came here and like played music together. That was super special. And so, yeah, that's the sound lock. It looks better and cooler and definitely more drummy now, and definitely more useful to me. And I really appreciate the way that this space is now. And of course, I've made the joke before, but black pipe, man, I should have bought stock in black pipe before I built this studio, because everything I do is this black pipe and like rustic wood theme palette walls, and found this like barnwood shiplap kind of thing that I used for the back of this, and I think it turned out and looks pretty cool. Another one of those projects where I'm like, all right, I have an idea, let's see if I can pull it off. And then I'm like, oh, I did pretty good. This looks good. Anyway, let's check out the live room. All right, welcome back to the Coop3r Studios live room. This, of course, is where most of the drumming happens, most of the recording instruments happen. Not a ton has changed through the years here in the live room itself. When I built out the space, I treated it, I built most of the things that I wanted and needed at the time, and so I didn't really have to do a lot of changes to this room through the years. But the big thing that has changed is the way that gear is used in this room and what gear is used in this room. And so one of the first things that has changed, of course, is drum sets through the years. Right now I've got 3 kits in here. These are my 3 main kits at this point in time. 2 of them are like top dog studio kits, and then this is the newest and bluest addition to the Coop3r Studios drum set lineup. I'm really excited about this kit right here. This is the new Crystal Beat limited edition 50th anniversary in sapphire blue. And so Crystal Beat shells are acrylic shells, whole lot of fun. Really just aggressive sounding drums that also look really cool. I've got hydraulics on them, so they're just kind of big and fat. And this kit is right now like that kind of like catch your eye on video kind of kit. Definitely, like if I had to choose one of the 3 kits in this room, it wouldn't be my like this is my do everything studio kit, but it does sound great tracked, it does sound great live, and it certainly looks as good as it sounds. And so outside of this kit, the other 2 kits that are in the space on this side of the room is the Masters Maple Gum, which is my newest Studio Legend kit. I absolutely just fell in love with the way that the maple with the interior plies of gumwood sounds. The gumwood dries up the sound. It's a Masters level kit from Pearl, so it comes with the Masters level hardware with the aluminum opti mounts and the die-cast hoops. And now if you get a Masters Maple Gum, it'll probably come with those new R2 air mounts, which will give even more tone to the drum. That kit over there is really, really special, and honestly, like, I have a hard time not playing it because it's here, you know, like Pearl makes a whole lot of amazing kits, and I like to play different kits to help showcase different budget levels, and that's certainly a higher budget level. But that kit is really spectacular, and if you're looking for like a studio kit that is just going to sound so good in the studio or live, that Masters Maple Gum is the bomb. Now, behind me, I still have the original Reference Pure kit, which is the one that I got for Coop3r Studios to have like a high-end recording kit. Really, really love that kit. In fact, every once in a while, I bring it back out just to like play it and love on it because it is so beautiful. Each and every drum is crafted and created with like different sets of woods. So you've got birch going into maple in the high end of the drums, and then the maple going into African mahogany on the low end drums like floor toms and kick drum. The snare drum, I got the 20 ply 14 by 6.5, so it's like that thick, and it just cranks. And the cool thing about that kit is the studio was kind of designed with that kit in mind. And so I believe, I can't remember if the first studio tour I had these yet or not, but definitely the launch video, I didn't have these, but these are custom made bass drums that are basically half bass drums to mount these cool heads on there, and I got lights inside of them. And what's really cool to me about that is when I have an artist come in, I almost always make sure that they sign the drum head, so there's like a little bit of them left behind. Also, if they're a Zildjian artist, I have them sign one of the blanks here. And so outside of that, the biggest difference in the room is how I use gear. And so when I developed the studio, like I mentioned in the control room, very like Dante, Ethernet oriented, and that allowed for so many options, but at the same time, most of the time I don't find myself using those options because most of the time I'm just recording like rock and roll drums, you know, like that kind of thing. And so for me, having multiple kits in here and being able to track the most easily I can, a lot of times I'll pull one of my Apollo preamps, my Apollo 8 XPs in here, or I'll have multiple in here, and I'll just set up a little set stand next to the drum set so I can just record on my laptop, make it very, very simple. But when I do a bigger production, of course, I have myself or the engineer in the live room or the control room. Of course, when I do a bigger production, I have myself or the engineer in the control room, and then I keep all my preamps in there. And I use this Rapco Horizon 24 XLR Snake over here. That is the main way that I send the audio back and forth. I also have the wall plates and everything that I built into the studio just to future-proof and make sure that there was never a situation where I'm like, man, I need more connections between the two rooms. I got 16 XLRs on the wall there. I got 24 on the floor here. 40 of them, plus, you know, if I have to, I do have Ethernet and other ways of sending data back and forth between the rooms. And so for me, just that is kind of the biggest change that has gone through the live room itself, is what kits I'm playing and then how I'm using the gear in the live room. I also built this new snare rack over here because I find myself, as most drummers, really enjoying different snare drums. And so right now I actually have kind of a smaller collection of snares because I tend to play my igniter snare, or I tend to play the Masters Maple Gum with the Zicket inside of it, which allows me to change which size, basically tricks the drum into either a 10, 12, or the full 14-inch size, which is really cool. And then my reference 20 ply. But I've had a bunch of different snares throughout the past few years that have kind of lived on this snare rack, and most of them were almost more collectors than drums that I use all the time. But it's nice to have that space there. And man, outside of that, I don't think much has changed. I still have the same acoustic geometry treatment, which I love it. I think this room sounds great. I could probably always add a little bit more to it, but I do like it to be kind of live. I want a little bit of, explosions, a little bit of verb in the room, but nothing too crazy. Also, another little trick, and this is not necessarily a trick that, I'm like, hey, you're so smart because of that trick, but one of the things I like to do to reduce clutter in the room is, instead of using large overhead stands, in fact, I got rid of my large overhead stands, I actually typically hang my overheads from the piping in the room, and that way just eliminates more clutter in the videos, more things to trip over, especially when I have a whole bunch of kits in here. It's hard to find places to put all the stands and still get behind kits, and so like this right here, hanging these from the ceiling really makes the whole room way cleaner. The floor is pretty much open all the way around. It's really nice. And so outside of that, I got some different trinkets and things that I use. One of the things that I've been using a lot lately is the Volt 4 76P from Universal Audio. Just a small 4 preamp, kind of more entry-level interface from them that I use when I record like an electronic kit, or when I want to just do like a quick 4 mic setup on the kit. Those are really, really nice, and certainly universal audio quality, which means clear preamps and a great user experience. And so really enjoy using that. Changed the monitors up in here. I didn't really use them very much, and so switched out big, huge monitors for these small little PreSonus monitors that they do what I need them to do, and keeps it really simple. So that's the live room. I don't have much to go into in here, but it's really the control room gear and some of the other changes that have been the biggest differences in the studio throughout the years. And man, I just love coming down here, looking around all these lights and seeing pretty drums and beautiful cymbals and amazing Earthworks mics. I still got my mic locker over here, which has a whole slew of Earthworks mics in it, and I keep adding different Earthworks mics, especially like the Icon, the Icon Pro, the Ethos. They just came out with a new handheld vocal mic which slaps on the snare drum or on vocals or pretty much anything. Just really awesome to be able to have all these Earthworks mics at my disposal and be able to record and track everything so clear, so precise, so just beautifully transparent, and pair that with those universal audio preamps, and I have everything I need. I had different setups and I had different ideas of what I wanted for this place to be, and at the end of the day, just what I can do with the Universal Audio Apollo 8XPs and the post-production capabilities of those preamps, and modeling different styles of preamps, different consoles, modeling different microphones, and I mean, there's so much you can do with that to where I didn't need a whole bunch of Dante connectivity or that kind of thing. And so once I realized I didn't need it, I decided I would prioritize the interfaces themselves and the post-production capabilities that Universal Audio brings to the table. And so that's the live room. Not a huge live room, but I fit 4 drum sets in here, and we've had a blast. And it's just been so fun throughout the years to remember that, Rich Redmond played drums right here, Jared Falk, Steven Taylor, J. Rod Sullivan, Juan Carlito Mendoza, David Raouf. I mean, there's been so many people that have played drums in this space. I'm just so honored that all this work has created such a fun space and so many awesome videos out of Coop3r Studios here. So that's the live room. That's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in and checking this out. I hope that there's some things that maybe you learned, or some ideas that you got that maybe make it into your studio. And certainly if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll try to answer as many as I can. And as always, thanks for watching. Links to this gear in the description. You can check it out over at Sweetwater, my favorite place to buy gear. And if you click one of those links, it is an affiliate link, and so if you purchase through a link, then it supports me and supports my channel. And the reason that I'm only an affiliate with Sweetwater, I don't send you to other retailers of music gear, is because I truly believe Sweetwater is the best place to buy. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for touring the studio, this episode of MTV Studios. Oh man, yeah, I'm a weirdo. Anyway, have a good one.